guys, welcome to this video. I'm going to take you inside the Become the Center of Your Horse's Universe course, and we are going to look at doing some Liberty with no tools. I'm going to share some tips and some reasons for why you might want to try doing Liberty with no tools instead of doing the typical join up where you kind of chase horses around the round pen until they come in. And so let's take a look. All right, so here we go looking at the first horse example. And here we're going to see a horse that gets distracted a little bit. You can see it looked out towards the side and then was drawn back to its owner as they try to do some little trots and kind of moving around and just getting that horse to draw and stick to them. And so this is one of the reasons why it is so helpful to not use tools, is because like when the horse was looking out like that, a lot of people would be tempted to kind of shoo the horse with a stick or something like that. And then what that does is it can cause the horse to want to run away. And what you're going to notice is that all of these Liberty sessions are filmed in my big indoor arena. So the ring is probably about 80 by 200 or so. And we didn't start in a round pen first. So this is another example here of a horse that's not done Liberty, and they're doing Liberty in our big open field. And we always start with small little tasks. So when people come to my clinics, we go through a bit of a process where we learn about our horses and we do some observing stuff. And we get to this stage here where we start to do some small tasks, and you can see the horse really looking for the human, because we're using positive reinforcement to keep our horses engaged and wanting to be interested in us instead of using pressure. And so sometimes people will have the argument of, well, then you need to have treats with you or whatever, and you don't. There are different types of rewards. Just treats are a heck of a lot faster and they're more universal, the same way that money for people is very fast and very universal. Most people like it. And here's another example with this horse. If you notice, when she was sending it around the box, in the beginning it was kind of confused. And it's also looking out a little bit because this is their first time doing Liberty and they're off-site in a new place. And if you were to have a stick in your hand, the temptation would be to want to try to shoo the horse or things like that. But you can see, just by kind of waiting with the horse a little bit and then being persistent and asking for what she wants, like keeping that focus, the horse is able to stick with her. And one of the biggest advantages to not doing the typical join up where you chase your horse around a round pen until they come to you is that you are able to start working at Liberty in big open spaces a lot sooner. So, and this is a good horse for an example because he's young, he's new to his owner, new to Liberty work, and they're in a new place that they haven't been before at my farm. And he gets quite distracted sometimes and looks out a fair bit. And he also tries, she's doing a bunch of different things here. She's asking him to lift his legs. And yet, even though he looks out, he's not actually leaving. She's able to get his focus back. And sometimes when a horse is distracted, if you go to pressure, you end up just pushing them away from you. So here she's able to have a lot more success in terms of keeping him with her and keeping him engaged, rather than if she was using a lot of pressure. There probably would be a fair bit of chasing going on because he gets pretty distracted. And that's, reasonable for a young horse and a new horse. So here's another example of this is an Icelandic horse that has not done Liberty work either. And we're starting with the basic tasks, or some easy tasks, easy wins. And so one of the little tips I'll give you is that when you start Liberty, we go through a bit of a process of observing, and we do the join-up games, and there's a bunch of different things that we do. But when we actually start working with our horse, we're doing what we call easy wins. And the idea is that you want to do some simple things that you think you're going to be successful at because you know how to do them, and you think your horse is going to be able to follow you through them. And then you want to offer your rewards and leave the session while your horse is on a high. So here's a little clip from their very first Liberty session, and they're practicing a few different movements. And the idea is just getting your horse really interested in you, because when you leave the session, you want your horse thinking like, man, that was a lot of
fun. Like, I can't wait to do that again, rather than, oh, like, are we done now? Can we move on to the next thing? So when you do a Liberty session, it doesn't mean that that's the only thing that you can do with your horse. You could, go riding afterwards or whatever. I just encourage people to keep them really, really short. So here's another little example with somebody who, this is a new horse for them that they've been working with, and they've been just wanting to build up the relationship. And you can see the horse is aware of where she's going and kind of tracking her, and you can see that very interested expression on the horse's face, because they know that there's going to be something in it for them. And so I always kind of like the saying of, are you going to beat him or are you going to treat him? Because to me, that's kind of the way it works with horses, is horses don't just, want to, do things for you because, they came out today and decided to play with whatever it was that you wanted to do. You have to be thinking, why are they going to do something? And is it because you're threatening to bite them if they don't do it? Or is it because there's going to be a reward for them if they do it? Whether that reward is a cookie or a scratch or whatever that may be. But those are kind of your two options, because horses typically don't just want to hang out with you for the sake of hanging out, unless they're a really nervous type horse and they're just glad to have the comfort and the safety from being with you. And so here's another look at another horse. This is another relatively new horse for this owner, and they're doing Liberty. They've done some Liberty before, but they're a relatively new partnership. And this is an off-the-track thoroughbred. So as you can see, very crazy and hard to manage. And this is a good example of knowing where to put your body and knowing where to put your hands to help your horse understand different tasks. So she's got her horse to do some haunch turns, and here she's asking the horse to go for a trot with her. She got the horse to do a couple of sideways steps. And you'll notice that she's able to kind of communicate that to the horse based on where she puts her hands to kind of guide the horse. And that's one of the nice things about using no tools, is it teaches you how to have a soft, appropriate feel on the horse. So if they're not understanding, you figure out how to clarify for them rather than just resorting to more pressure. It can be a little bit more clear, a little bit easier for them to understand. And so by doing that, she's able to get a lot accomplished. And you can also notice from this little clip too, how quickly she's moving from one thing to the next. And there's a few reasons for that, but one of them is we're not trying to drill the horse. And imagine if you were learning how to read and somebody gave you a book, and the book was, one word over and over again. Let's say the word was happy, and it's like, turn the page, happy, turn the page, happy, turn the page, happy. Like, how boring would that be? You'd be very tempted to want to leave. So switching it up is a really good thing. So here's a cool example of a horse that has been with this owner for a while, a very, very insecure horse, overcome a lot of challenges, a lot of issues, anxieties with this horse, and definitely a horse that would typically be one to run off and get kind of scared and kind of do its own thing. And you can see the owner's using a polite, what we call a cheek hold or a neck hold, to guide the horse and help them understand that the idea is to stay with them. But then also doing lots of rewards after the little tasks to try to help the horse realize that, even though I'm asking you to do something, there's going to be something in it for you. And so there was a little example of where the horse went to kind of leave a little bit, and it wasn't a very firm neck hold. You could see that, it's not like she was gripping like she's holding on to a bear trying to run away or something like that, but just guiding the horse and trying to build the horse up so that way they understand the task of what they're supposed to do. And I love that for people when they're starting with Liberty, when you start with no tools, is it just really teaches you how assertive you need to be so your horse doesn't leave you, and so they do figure the puzzles out that you're trying to give them, but also at the same time how soft you need to be, because if this owner was too firm, the horse would probably fight harder to leave. But as you can see in that little example, that little few seconds ago there, the horse went to try to leave again, and the owner just kind of blocked them and not in a mean way, but just blocking and kind of saying, no, like this is where you're supposed to stay, and then finishing her task and then offering the reward. So we're not allowing the horse to kind of pull us off of our focus. We're still maintaining focus. We're still doing the things that we have in mind and would like to do with our horse, but we're guiding them on that path a little bit so that way they understand. And this is a very distracting arena. It's very large. There's a lot of stuff in the arena. There's open doors, there's windows, there's horses that come and go that are getting ready to come in for their sessions. So there's another little example where the horse kind of thought to leave, but she was able to politely bring her back. So being able to work with your horse in this environment with nothing, and not just like have them follow you around, but actually start to understand different movements, is actually really, really successful, or a really awesome task. So I hope you guys enjoyed that and learned something from it. I would love to see in the comments what you think, and see you next time.